I love building the story around myself, and it gives me a kind of a strange sense of security. But it has happened to me with the novel where I was 80 pages in, which was about 4 or 5 months' work, I'd say, even more. And I just had to accept that it wasn't working. So that'll break your heart, but you have to be prepared for that. The novel takes a lot out of you, stamina-wise, physically, mentally. You're exhausted after it, but I still think I prefer it. When I was writing Tatty, I mean, I could hardly deny even to myself that it was autobiographical, because the main resource was my own memory. And anyone who knew me or knew my family knew that it was autobiographical. I did change certain elements, but in retrospect, I think that was a novelistic decision. For example, the story of Tatty was too much for one child, I thought, to bear, to shoulder. So I gave her a sister called Jeannie. And Jeannie could then give a different point of view and could give a different perspective on things and share the burden of the story. I also invented a very glamorous aunt who was unmarried, and she was an air hostess, as they used to be called. And this was somebody who was different to the other women in the story, and she could also express opinions that Tatty wouldn't be sophisticated enough to take. So I gave her 2 sisters, and I have no sisters. But other than that, everything within the novel was more or less true. In public, I sort of stressed that it was fiction, simply because a lot of the people were still alive who were in the novel. They're all gone now, so I can be more open about saying it's autobiographical. I always look at writing a novel like making a film. You need a location first, and you need a good location, and a location that you will know, that can be a true place, that will seem true. It's really the same with any book that I've done. I get my location, and then I get my first actor, my first character, enter their head, put on the camera, and let them go about their business, and then everything follows. So music is a great way to relax your brain, open up the doors, let yourself visualise rather than think. As a novel grows around you and it gets very dense and there's all these ideas and words and characters, and you can get clogged, rather than writer's block, there's just, you don't know which way to move. So I choose a piece of music that I would associate with that novel, the novel I'm working on. And every time I get into the car, I put the CD on, or if I'm going around the house, I put the CD on. And what that does is it allows me to stop thinking about the novel, and my subconscious knows that that novel and that music are associated. And so it works away on its own, and little ideas come in. And often when I go back to a desk and sit down, something has worked itself out. I was absolutely thrilled. It was a great honour. And everybody knows, anyone who, especially if you're living in Dublin, you really know who the One City, One Book, what the choice is. But with this time I had mixed feelings though, because then I knew I would have to talk about certain things that were in Tatty that I mightn't, that I'd buried or I was able to put aside for a good number of years. And my diary was completely full. There was 32 events and more that were coming in all the time. And I was to travel all over the place with this One City, One Book idea. And suddenly COVID came and everything stopped. And I thought that was the end of it. But in fairness and all credit to the team at One City, One Book, people like Alison Lyons and Jackie Lynham, and indeed Dublin Book Festival with Julianne Mooney, that they really worked hard to make it work. So I did get the big event that was supposed to be in Liberty Hall. And it was a pre-recorded event. Music and the Imagination was the name of it. And there was live musicians at it, and Niall McMonagall interviewed me. And that was fabulous. And it turned out actually in a way to be better, because it went online, and it's on YouTube now, and it's on the RTE culture page. And more people saw it than would have done if it had been in Liberty Hall. And the flags went up in the city, and the banner went up on Liberty Hall. And it was just a different kind of celebration. But it was still a celebration, I think, and I think really I didn't expect it to be. I just thought it was going to be the end of it, and in fact, it's still ongoing. So I'm very pleased with it, and I think they did a great job. I think everybody did a great job. I think I would pick Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, And this is because Mrs. Dalloway contains everything I love in a novel. There's a great interior world, her interior world, and she really gets this. The city works with the character and the characters that are brought in. And also it's a novel I grew up with. When I read Mrs. Dalloway the first time, I read it in the Cherry Orchard Hospital when I was 17 years of age, and I was sort of in solitary confinement, in quarantine for 3 months. And I read it, I was 17, and her daughter Elizabeth was also 17. And every time I've returned to it, I've been a different age. More recently, I'm now older than Mrs. Dalloway herself, but I suppose if I'm lucky, I'll get to be the old hag in it that comes into it at one point. But I just love it. I just think it's a real masterpiece, and it's a real study of the human condition, and yet it's handled very lightly, and there's so much in it that it will be a book anyone will be proud to have written.
This feature is brought to you by Creative Ireland in partnership with RTE, supporting the arts, supporting artists, supporting us.